You were bouncing right in that 240, 250 million range of assets gathered organically, not M&A, not acquiring a bunch of firms. And I think a lot of people hear that number, they're like, wait, $250 million of assets gathered? But then last year, 2024, you one-upped yourselves as a firm, brought in 380 million, 130 million growth year. How did you do that? That's wild. Keith, Michelle, welcome to Do Business, Do Life Live from Scale Summit Atlanta.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So as we record this, April 10th, 2025, and time flies because you all were Triad member number 1, joined right at the end of 2020. So we're right at just over 4 years of you being Triad members and starting a really fun trend. You were ahead of the game.
We're ahead of it.
You knew where this was going? Mm-hmm. The whole time.
Predicted
you had nothing but confidence in us and what we would
We
do.
saw the vision, super smart people. This chair. These two
Yeah, I was
chairs.
going to say,
My
it
chair.
wasn't on
My
this
chair
side.
too.
That's what I said, these two
It
chairs.
was actually more in this chair.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, so for those that aren't familiar, you guys were actually, so the guys, the 3 founders, Keith, Matt, Derek, were our first Triad member spotlight, episode 4. And then Michelle, you were kind enough to come on and share the real truth.
Yeah.
Which I think episode 16, where it was a lot more on the ops side, the culture side.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I love that you said in that is you see your client as the team.
Yes.
Which is one of the reasons you guys have built such a really cool culture. So I'm going to give a quick rundown over the last 4 years since you've been with Triad. So 2021, 2022, 2023, you were bouncing right in that 240, 250 million range of assets gathered organically, not M&A, not acquiring a bunch of firms, each of those years. And I think a lot of people hear that number, they're like, wait, $250 million of assets gathered? How did you do that? But then last year, 2024, you one-upped yourselves as a firm, brought in 380 million, 130 million growth year. So let's just start there. How did you do that? That's wild. Keith, Michelle,
Keith,
where are we
do
going?
start.
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with how we've built the team. Like you said, Derek, myself, Matt. Then we have 3 other advisors as well, but each of those advisors has a team underneath them to support. So I think where a lot of folks lose their capacity to grow is trying to do everything, right? Instead of focusing on what they're really good at, like Derek, myself, Matt, and those other guys are really good at closing business. That's what we want to be doing. We want to put each of those advisors in their position to succeed and then have the support around them, because the book still needs to be serviced. The clients still need to be loved on. And that's where Michelle and her team come in. So there's a lot that goes on beyond just us closing the business and running the business to create the culture, one that we have internally. But I would say also the culture that we have externally, because of that 130 growth or 380 million, about a third of that was from referrals, and that just doesn't happen overnight either. So,
Yeah, and I would say too, to add to that, like they're specialists in obviously closing business, meeting with the client. We talked about it earlier and on our episode. You know, the internal client is my client. So it's like, it allows myself, my team, the operations team, all the other teams just to really dial in on our team and make sure that we're there supporting the business that they all bring in.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's get specialists on the team. Let's dive in, get our process so slick that when he's producing or the team's producing, we can just take it, own it, and then run with it so he can move on to the next.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you look at some of the best advisors, let alone SHP in the business, you're just great with relationships and people. At the end of the day, building trust, hey, we've got you, instilling that confidence. But where oftentimes it breaks is on the back end, is delivering on the product. Because there's a lot of people that can sell. But now how do you deliver on the promise? Hence the back end operations side, which the cool thing is when you actually deliver on the promise, now the referrals come, right?
100%.
So if we go back, so the 2021, 2022, 3, and 4, how has the team grown to deliver on that promise over that time?
Yeah, I think, and I would take it back. You know, I remember sitting in the room with these guys, Derek, Keith, Matt, and one of their biggest fears with our clients was saying we're going to do something for our client and not being able to deliver. We like obsessed on that. It was like never going to be an issue for us because that's where we dialed into. So I think, you know, they've just allowed myself and our team to just grow. So it's like, if you've identified a need on your team, it's like, well, we're going to hire for it, you know, and we're going to get a specialist in that role. We've all worn many hats, but I think now we're at a point where we are in full growth mode. So we're supporting that next hire. We have a team dedicated just to planning now, which is awesome. We have a team dedicated to life insurance. Great. You know, we've got our marketing team, our business development team, our new business team. We've got our investment committee. I mean, there's so many different teams now doing the specialists so that Keith can focus on what he needs to and run the business. Same with Matt, same with Derek. I don't know if
I would say, you know, one of the things that we get asked a lot is, you know, from other folks in the Triad community, even outside, is like they see the growth and they're like, hey, you know, how do you guys get so many referrals? Because we see your growth, but like you said, a lot of that
magical referral program.
There isn't one.
Yeah.
It's called delivering on what you say you're going to do, and then over time. And people are always like, how do you guys ask for referrals? I'm like, we don't. We've never asked for a referral ever, never. And their friends see what we do for them. And they feel, hey, look, you know, these guys are, you know, this team is top notch. This group is a top notch group. We want you to be part of that group. So we want to give you, you know, your name to them. Is that okay? Yeah. And then they get the same treatment as that client does. So they're getting a reciprocal experience. And what do? Then it starts and it just kind of compounds.
it's like our clients are family, right? So it's like, why wouldn't they want their friends to work with family? So we do get a lot of those folks. They're like, hey, can I bring? You had a client once at one of our golf tournaments. We do a golf tournament with clients. One of your clients brought a neighbor. Yeah. He's like, you got to meet these people. These people are top notch. You just got to meet them. And I'll never forget. We're so excited that he brought this person because we don't ask for referrals. And this gentleman, we all took some minutes and, you know, introduced ourselves and sat and talked with him. And then at the end of the golf tournament, I'll never forget, he's like, who do I talk to schedule a meeting? Like, I need a meeting. And we were like, oh, we don't really need to do business today. This is about you. This is golf.
On the golf course? He's like, how do I schedule a meeting?
Yeah. Yep. So our team went over in the corner, scheduled a meeting, and he is one of your clients now, which is really nice. That's just one of many stories.
And
but
it wasn't due to Keith's golf game. We know that.
Absolutely not.
Definitely not. What do I do to avoid this meeting?
Well, I think it was Steve Jobs who said, the best marketing is when the product speaks for itself. Sure. Like, think of the original iPhone. Your friends would literally come and tell you about it. Like, look, this is wild what this does. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of advisors over the years where it's kind of the rip off and duplicate model where it's like, oh, I like what that advisor has on their website. Here's their process, right? SHP retirement blueprint. That's your version of the 5 World CFP standard plan. But a lot of advisors just copy paste. Mm-hmm. It's a marketing gimmick. And there's no follow through. In reality, it's just they're doing the same portfolio they've always done. They didn't actually expand on the services provided. It was kind of a marketing gimmick. Mm-hmm. But here's what happens when you do. It's like that iPhone analogy. It's like, oh my gosh, wait a sec. So one-stop shopping. So I've got an income plan now built to get through retirement. I've got an investment strategy that complements that. Oh, you guys have a tax planning that goes along with that where I can actually plan to pay less taxes in a legal way. Oh, healthcare, estate planning. So it's kind of like, why would I go all over the place when I can just do it all here? Mm-hmm. And how much do you think that plays in, or what's like the client's version of how they repeat that back to you?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it has to do with simplifying everything. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is during each of the meetings, people learn auditorily and visually, or, you know, one or the other, and you don't know who you're sitting with. So I use the board a lot and obviously speak, trying to make things as simple as possible. So like, you know, I'll have clients there will be referrals and my clients like, hey, I want that safety income thing that my friend has. It's like, they got that very, very easy to understand investment philosophy, or very easy to understand illustration. Hey, you know, Bill told me about the 5 worlds. You know, that sounds like something we need to look at. Can we sit down with you? Sure. So it's packaging up what you're doing in an easy way for people to tell. I guess. I don't know if that's the best
And I would say
way to say it, but that's
no,
what I would
you're
say.
totally right, and we're relatable, right? Too. So like we take care of our clients like they would be our family. You know, we're very relatable and easy to work with, and I think we're very genuine people, and that stems from our team, from right when you walk in the door to who you speak with on the phone, to Derek, Keith, Matt, and all of our other advisory solutions team members. You know, we are who we are. Like we're very real. We're not afraid to get emotional with our clients. We're not afraid to be there for them during their hard times. You know, when a loss happens or they lose their job, or, you know, we have good situations with them. We're always there for them. So I do think that helps with the referral side.
Also, I mean, you're just super relatable. I know one of the things we say at Triad that's really important is check your ego at the door. And you guys, I mean, I met y'all when there were 4 guys doing 8 million, and you're actually the same guy you were back then, you know, with a lot more success and a bigger business today. But it's wild, and I think that's just a life lesson to not let the success get in the way.
100%.
A little less hair, maybe? No, I'm teasing.
Yeah.
Oh, is this a roast now? Are we going to the roast
no.
section?
Bring it on.
No, you're so right though. You're so right. And it's so neat. Like, you know, and I think that's one of our fun things too. Like along the way, we've got 55 team members now. And it's like, you know, you got the OGs that were there back in the day that really saw them. But you're the same person now along the way. And it's like making sure that our team still feels the Keith Ellis or the Derek or the Matt that I felt when I started 11 years ago.
Those old stories to get to the new stories.
Yeah.
All of the off-the-wall jokes that still exist today.
Absolutely.
You know what's wild about that, Michelle, is we just had a Triad member, Chris, came up to me and he said, hey, don't forget, and he was talking about Sean and I know you all have really tried to build a business bigger than just the 3 of you. It's not the Keith, Derek, Matt, and Michelle show. Like, hey, we're the ones, like everything. I think oftentimes that becomes an ego play. I'm the owner, I'm the founder, right? And what's been really cool is how I've seen you all empower the team, grow new leaders, grow new advisors on the team. But I think what you can't forget is you're still the heartbeat of why the company exists. You had the original vision. And what Chris was saying here is, it's like, hey, don't forget there's new people in the room that never heard the vision.
Sure, right.
So you've got to put that on repeat. And I've seen you all be a lot more intentional in that over even the last couple of years. Yes, so how does that play out on your side, Michelle, when you're bringing a new team member on, and here's why we exist, here's what SHP is about, here's our culture.
Yeah, so it's you know, when we have a new team member, you know, they're coming on board, we're sitting with them, we've developed their training schedule for the first week, 2 weeks, 6 months, year, great. But the first week is very much some time dedicated with me right in their first hour when they arrive, giving them the tour, showing them the who's, the who, the why, why does this person sit here, this, you know, and then we sit in the room and go through our vision. So we have a 3-year vision that we roll out for our team every 3 years. We have a culture, like a culture handbook. So we'll sit and go through page by page, and it is on repeat. You know, it's like I'm repeating myself, but it's super important for me to slow down, take that time, and really educate them on why we do the things we do, why Keith might say what he does, why he sits there, why does his team look like this, whereas Derek's like this. So I just really sit down and strip it back and take myself back to 11 years ago when I started. We didn't have a lot of these things, you know, so now it's neat. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, right.
Thanks, Maura.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Thanks to your wife. But yeah, no, so we, you know, just really intentional in stripping it down for them. And they ask questions and they're like, wow, I didn't know that you started at SHP because of this. And I talk a little bit about my background, and I talk a little bit about how Derek, Keith, and Matt met, and where they, you know, signed at a local restaurant, their idea to start a new firm, you know, so I share all this backstory with them. And then I'm very intentional in the first week of being like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. New Hire, you're going to sit with Keith for 1 hour on Friday, or Matt or Derek, and they get an opportunity to sit with them as well. And that's pretty special. So like they're meeting with the whole team all week, and then they end their week with a partner. It's pretty special.
And I believe you've even invented like shipmates, right?
Yes, yeah.
So SHP, you're right on Plymouth Harbor.
Yes. So we are
so you've
shipmates.
kind of created your own language around this and your own culture. It's like
everything's branded. So it's like our internship program. So it's SHP.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
Love
see
it.
what you did there.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we've got our shipmates. So it's taking a few fun facts about every one of our teammates. We don't call them teammates, employees, they're shipmates. And we just say like, 6 things about each one that we like. We post it
The wall.
on the wall in our office. Yep. So our whole wall. And we also, quite often when clients are coming and leaving for meetings, they're walking down that hallway and they're checking out everybody on our team and just learning a little bit like, oh, Keith, I didn't know you played tennis, like, or whatever the fun fact is about that person.
I'm gonna hold off
on that. And our Enneagram scores on there too. So it's kind of fun. We've actually had some clients come up to me and say, what are those little numbers that you have when you post on social, when you post on Facebook, Instagram? And I'm like, oh, that's our Enneagram. So we'll have to do something with our clients for that. But they're very intrigued by what those numbers mean, you know.
We'll get you guys connected with the end.
I would love that. Yeah, that would be great. But
I think that'd be good.
You're very intentional with that. I'm very, very much sharing their story. And then they get some time with them too. We do cocktails the first Friday that they're there. You don't have to partake, but you can. We get together. We might play a game with the team in our back kitchen, and the partners come if they can too, just so they can get to know the new team member shipmate.
Cool. Okay, so I want to circle back. 130 million of growth last year. One of the things that you talked about is adding more advisor. Do you call them advisor teams, pods? Like, kind of paint a picture
Advisory
of what that
teams.
looks like a little
Advisory
bit. Like,
teams.
Keith, what's your team look like right now?
Yeah, I have Kyle, who's my lead advisor. Aiden, who works with Kyle and myself. And then we just added Josh to my team. And he's kind of going between myself and another team. He's kind of like a
So Josh was actually an intern with us too.
Correct.
So we like to kind of do that too. So they're interning with us.
We have a lot of interns that come
and
back
Love
to
that.
Yeah, they intern with us. They're joining a team. They're kind of learning all their things. They're getting securities licensed. And then we're trying to figure out where to put them, you know, and so he's now joined your team, which is pretty cool. So he can act as that third level of support when the other two are in meetings with Keith or in a meeting together.
So sales advisor, relationship, basically building that. And then the next advisor, are they more of a service advisor on the team? And then you have two kind of service advisors
so
now?
Kyle will be with me in most meetings, Kyle or Aiden. Write the recap emails and do and execute everything that needs to be done from that meeting. So when I leave that meeting, they pretty much run with all the directives from that point forward.
So Keith won't go into a room alone.
Yeah.
He just won't.
That's best.
Yeah, and honestly, fair. But years ago we didn't have that luxury, so it's kind of hard. And that was like the days before AI and all that fun supporting tools we could have. But then over time, he's in a meeting with either one of them, and the goal is for them to help take that relationship over, so that the client is then calling him and never Keith, so that way he can have some help.
Well, I mean, the beauty of it is, it's really hard to be in a conversation and be like a supreme note taker at the same time. And I know obviously now we're using a lot of AI tools that are designed to even make that easier, but it's almost like the air traffic control between you, who's developing the relationship, has the most experience, but now delivering that to your planning team to now build out the custom plan. Right. And they're really facilitating a lot of that. Right? Like Keith, so once you get done with the meeting, real talk, fully transparently, how much more are you involved until you see the plan?
So usually they'll give Kyle will send, like yesterday he said, weekly needs for next week. He'll summarize each of the meetings, where we are in the process and what's needed to the planning team, to Aiden on our team or Josh on my team. And that's really about it. And then as the day, like say I have a second on Tuesday that we need to prepare for, I'll probably go over it one time, maybe Tuesday morning, and then I'm ready to go. So I don't see the plan at all. I don't really do anything
until you're kind of like the doctor grabbing the clipboard before you go in, obviously reviewing it. But the cool thing is your planning team, Nick leads that, super dialed in now. Where I'm sure the early days there was a lot more oversight, but now like you have the process down.
Third meeting's a little bit different because we're just we're showing high level in a second, as you know. Third meeting, they'll build out the recommendations, Nick, Kyle, the planning team, and then we'll make tweaks if we feel like it's needed before we go in and implement. But yeah, pretty much I'm pretty hands off from them.
And it's neat too, because you like the three, I'm picking on your team, but like you guys are so dialed in together that that they've started to understand what your expectations are too. So while we have the process, every advisor has their own flair of the process, right? So Keith, Kyle, Aiden, Josh, they understand what you're looking for, and they're going to deliver for you everything he needs, which is, it's very specific to Team Keith,
Well, and what was cool, you had Chase, who used to be on your team,
Yes.
Yeah.
service, and he graduated to a selling advisor, or whatever your verbiage that you call that, relationship advisor.
Yep, raised his hand one day. It was like, I want to be a Keith. I want to go out on my own and have my own team someday, maybe. So
How long ago was that?
sure, that was probably a year ago. Yeah, he was in that role probably for about a year, and then he left, and now he's been in this role for a year. So we're talking, he was underneath Keith for 1 year, and he's already out on his own. And actually, his book has become a good substantial sized book now that we're starting to add some support for him as well.
What do you know off the top of your head, Chase? So after 1 year of tutoring under Keith, mentoring, what did he do in his first year as his guy?
Absolutely. So he would take, so we qualify every appointment that comes in the door, but he would take the lower hanging folks and just kind of start getting his feet wet with that. Doing a lot of role playing. You did a really good job with him, just role playing. They book the conference room, go in there, do your first appointment with me. It's very uncomfortable, but it has to be done. And Keith would be like, stop, this is what I would do, and vice versa. Then you'd sit in meetings with him too.
You'd let him take lead chair, but you'd still be in case he got out over his skis.
Absolutely. Okay. So there's a lot of that role playing, I think, at first, and then slowly over time, he's starting to get some more higher net worth, and then over time, he's starting to get referrals.
Do you have any idea what he captured his first year total assets?
25.
I think it was 25, 30 his first year. His book is now at a little over 80. So he's
80 of total assets.
Correct.
In 1 year, or a year
About a year and a half. Yeah. Yep.
So he's
crushing it.
outperforming a lot of people that have been doing it for 10 or 20 years.
Correct. Using the process that's in place, learning from the best teams, and just really dialed in.
Keith, but you're normally so humble. I know, you're joking.
Totally kidding.
So, okay, you hit on something, and I'm just going to kind of make the analogy of like a totem pole where the new guy starts at the bottom. Sure. So it used to be Keith, Derek, Matt, the three founders. Mm-hmm. And then you brought on the first group, and then basically what happened is there was some sort of, basically you bumped your minimums, the founders did, and you all were just explaining before we hit record here, 4 years ago even, Keith was still sitting with potential clients that had around 500K. That would be on the low end, right? Now, 4 years later, minimum Keith or the other founders are sitting with is 2.5 million plus of investable assets. And rarely, unless it's like an emergency, somebody's out on vacation, are you ever going below that?
Yeah, we were really just trying to build our book, I think, what was Derek saying? In 2020, we had 385 million under management.
Mm-hmm.
And you're at what today?
1.6 billion.
Well, we got to check the market because it's,
It's
up or down 10%. One of
Every
our
tweet with sense.
Yeah. But that's
but
a big
what was it
deal.
at? Sorry, about 1.6 billion.
Yeah.
So 2020,
Yeah.
you were at 300 and change.
Yeah, because we did the number rate as COVID was happening.
Yeah.
And we were like, how far down did we go? Where were we? And it was 3 and change. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now what's wild is you grow a team, what's the team at now?
About 55.
55. Yeah. So now, the team gets bigger. There's more leadership responsibilities, right? You can't just be in a conference room all day. Sure. But now because the incremental moving up, now you're making sure an hour of your time is valued at a higher rate because
Right.
you're making sure the people and the more sophisticated planning
Correct.
needs to go to the people that have been doing it longer, right?
Right.
And so
You
it's
didn't-
kind
you,
of
you
solving.
wanted to say sophisticated advisors, but then you
I
looked at me.
changed, yeah.
I got you.
That was good.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
good. So you raise the minimum, but now the newer guys, the Chases of the world, they're cutting their teeth on the smaller ones. But now your volume of appointments has decreased, but you're still. Are you bringing on less assets today total for a year, or more
Where
with
are we
less appointments?
Year to date? Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
like over the last 4 years, I know the other teams have grown, but you personally, are the assets staying about the same, even though you're decreasing the amount of appointments?
I killed it last year.
He did.
Yeah.
85 million,
yeah.
by myself. And I didn't work like that.
And I think his goal, we
hard.
set your goal to be
that hard is per se.
we set your goal to be 25, maybe 30.
Yeah.
Just trying to reduce
You
it.
4x'd it.
And he did.
But you're seeing less people,
Yes.
higher net worth.
Absolutely.
What was your, if you look 2024, you guys grew by 130 million. What would you say you average new appointments, like people you hadn't met with before, per week? Or Michelle, maybe you know that number
Yeah,
better.
I don't know the exact.
One or two, maybe?
One or two?
For new appointments? Absolutely. One or two.
One or two. Mm-hmm. And still did 80 mil plus.
Yes. A lot of it was off your existing book, too. You know, I
Wow.
mean, referrals.
So how does that organizationally play out? So Tasha, I know on the team, does a lot of the appointment setting.
Yep.
So she knows, okay, 2.5 plus, that's a founder appointment.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously if it's a referral, you're going to send it to probably the founder book that it came from.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have a whole matrix that we're building. If anybody doesn't have that, they should. It's a really cool exercise to go through. It's like, okay, you're taking the, I don't like using the word junior, but the newer producers, you know, and we're starting them here. And then you get Derek, Keith, Matt up at the top. And you can kind of see them over the years progressing and moving and shaking. Their situations might change. We had, you know, some they might get married and say, my goal is going to be a little different this year, whatever the story is. But you guys are, so we're giving them opportunity and taking it from these guys and shifting it. So she's super dialed in.
How many tiers do you have? So you've got a founder tier, that's the top tier. How many tiers do you have?
I would say we have 3 total.
3 tiers. So founders are 2.5 plus. What's the tier below them?
I would say $1 million plus.
$1 million to 2.5.
Yeah.
And then the new guys are $1 million to 500.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So now the newer guys that obviously you're new, you need to build the confidence, you need to build the skill set.
Yeah.
They are, if they swing and miss a little bit more, which is very common.
Sure.
They're doing it on the little ones, not on the big ones.
Exactly. And to your point too, the client referrals that come in will stay on the team. So you might go into an appointment maybe to help Kyle or Aiden along a little bit, but the expectation is Keith's going to step out and the team is going to manage that relationship going forward. So it's still going to be on the team, Keith, but you're kind of out of the picture, which is nice. So he's building a career path for his teammates on his team as well.
I love it. Well, and that's the thing. Sometimes I hear the objection, I don't want to train my competition, right? What's cool is because you're developing a career track, there's actually progression even in the sales advisor role, right? So how have you all thought, and I know you've applied that to a lot of different areas on the SHP team. So maybe we switch over more to the ops side, Michelle. How have you done that? Because I know at one point you were HR, COO, like everything. And I know Mallory now has added to your bandwidth and you're building out the ops side. How's that played out over there?
It's like we got to a point where you guys need to work on the business. And then it was like, okay, Michelle can just take it, right? But then it got myself to a point where I need to work on the business too, right? There's a lot of things that need to happen. So we did that over the last 2 years. We've really started promoting within and developing our next level of leadership. So we've got a whole new tier. So we've got, you know, the C-suite, if you will. And then we're building out like the V-suites, the vice president suite. And then we've got our director levels as well. And then we've got our manager levels. So we've now got all these tiers that we never had before. So it's promoting the team to be like, okay, your team is executing all of the client review scheduling. And this is what's expected of me. And they report into me now of how it's getting done. And I don't have all the people reporting to me anymore. It's just nice. And you picked on Mallory. Mallory now manages that entire team, which is exciting.
So Mallory, what'd she take off your plate? She manages what team? The whole ops side?
So so as of last year, she took the whole operational side of things off. She's taking off anything technology. We use Redtail for our CRM. So the Redtail technology, the reporting, the why we're putting in the UDFs and tracking the activities and giving me those ROI reports that I require. And then she's also doing the marketing team and the business development team. I'm too spread out. So it's like, hey, I need help, you know, and she's a very good leader. So we made that change. And then you've got it on the other side with Nick Nelson. You know, he's the VP of Advisory Solutions. So back in the day, Nick was the only planner we had. And he was in meetings with you, you know, had a little book of business, you know, but he's really... Yeah,
because when you hired him, he was going to be a sales advisor,
He was going to be a sales advisor, exactly, right? So it's like, all right, so he's now got this beautiful team of 24, I think, at this point. So it's like now he's working a lot with the partner teams, but he can't do it all either because 24 people's a lot. So then we've got Owen on the team. He's a director underneath Nick. So he takes those relationships on the other advisory teams and he's working with them. Nick's working on the owners. Their best practices are all the same. The way we train, process, all the same. And then he's requiring certain things from the team leads to report into him. So he's developing that little tier. And same with the new business team too. So we've got Zach over there. He's a director of the new business team. And it's like, okay, here's our processes and procedures. But we've got Sam managing it underneath him with him. So he has a little support. And same with Tasha. Tasha's got 2 on her team. So she's the director of the business development team, making sure all the leads are coming in, the client referrals are being scheduled, the scripting is being done, that they're really a good fit. They're not a good fit for SHP. We refer them out to another person. So she's developing relationships with network referrals so we can safely hand off that appointment if we can't take it internally. But she's got got her team underneath her that are on the phones and qualifying, and so she's leading her team and then reports up into that. So we've got all these little teams now that we're so proud of because they're just helping us out as we work on the business.
Well, I remember we got into a story from back in the day when we were all a lot younger, and according to Michelle, apparently had more hair.
Not you.
Yeah, I did have less hair, didn't I? Yeah. So anyway, I remember you all had hit 60 million of total assets one year, and we talked that you're like, hey, we're tapping out. We also kind of want to be dads and husbands every once in a while too, and that was before you'd kind of built out this whole advisory model, and so you have to answer this truthfully, Keith. So from the time period when you guys were at 60 mil, I think that was 2014 or 15 range, probably about a decade ago, to last year bringing on 380 mil total. So that would be that is a 6X there. Yeah. Did you have more or less freedom last year than you did when you were at 60 mil?
Way more freedom last year. Way more.
Like exponentially more?
Yes. 12X.
12, oh, you doubled the free time on that. Okay, nice, good work. So what advice would you give a founder or an advisor that's like, that sounds impossible? Like, because the business has evolved, obviously, as you've grown, new problems have popped up. But what advice would you give to an advisor out there thinking that sounds impossible?
I mean, you can look within the community, and there's other advisors that are doing the same thing. There's one thing to know one way to show you that it's not impossible. But I would say build the team. Find the things that you don't like to do, you're not good at, you don't want to do. Hire for those. That liberates, more of your time. Well, and then if you want to do more sales, if that's what you like to do. But then again, you could also say, look, I want this time back for myself, my family, my kids. And having the team around you, in my opinion, allows you to do that. So I think it's just building, the support, the infrastructure, the team, and then the expectations and how we're going to treat the families. Because the last thing you want to do is transfer the relationship to a team member. Then all of a sudden, that relationship goes away, right? You got to have the belief that they're going to be able to treat them as good or better than you would. So it takes time. It's not easy.
And we constantly too, I think we do have leadership meetings every Monday, and we're in the room and we're always like, okay, hey, over the next 6 months, like, are you good? Like, do you like what you do? Like, is there anything that I can take off your plate? And I might not have the answer, but I can take it off Keith's plate, and I have a nice team underneath me now that we can sit there and really brainstorm and try to figure out whatever the solution is. So we're trying to constantly challenge them to give us more, because we want a career path here at the organization as well. So you guys are really good at doing that for your team, which is awesome.
And let's apply that to you, Michelle, because I know also as the sales side was growing, as you have more success on the sales side, all of a sudden, more promises to deliver on. And there were seasons where you were overwhelmed, had too much going on, which obviously you talked about Mallory, but how have you thought about that on your side of the house?
Absolutely. And I think they're great. We do talk about that very openly. It was getting to a point where, I'm a little overwhelmed. I have little ones at home too, and I want to get home and do the things, what I'm supposed to be doing, and travel. And, so it's they're recognizing and being very supportive of me and how can we help Michelle? And I think that's what's happened internally when we started adding those tiers that I talked about. It's adding the different levels and the Mallorys and just being able to help me dial into the vision, coach her up, and just she runs with it. And I'm trusting the team to do that, which has really been helpful.
Mm-hmm. And the level of planning.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you look at the level of planning from 2014-15 to now, the assets speak for themselves. So what was if you can remember, the largest client you all worked with, call it 2015-16. Total investable assets.
750 maybe?
550.
550 to 600.
Very small.
And now, maybe just name some of your top tier.
14, 11. I just brought on 2 5s.
So 14 million, 11 million, 5 million, 5 million. And that, I remember back in the day, that was like a outlier. And now I feel like it's just becoming a very common practice for you all. I mean, those are multifamily office level sort of clients. And it's because you haven't sacrificed the quality of the product. You've actually improved it as you've scaled the team. Are any thoughts or tips to that?
Yeah, and I would say too, we've been bringing in, we're more thoughtful in bringing in talent, I think, as well. So we're hiring specialists in certain roles. And I think that's something that we are now able to recognize that we need to support these new higher net worth folks
Yeah, we
that
just
we're
hired
servicing.
a higher net worth planner.
Yeah. Yep. And she came from that background, and it's so neat to bring in somebody
The
completely
notes she
outside.
gives us are unbelievable.
Yeah,
And you're
she's
just going at a whole different level than where you were.
You hit a whole nother topic, just the caliber of talent you're starting to attract. I know Derek, Natalia
Yes.
on his team, when she was hired, she was servicing a $1 billion plus
Correct.
dollar book of business
by herself.
by herself.
By
And how many
herself.
advisors was that?
One.
One advisor, and she was the only one with that advisor, and they had a $1 billion book. Yeah.
And this goes to the how you all have created different types of career tracks for different types of advisors. She was like, just don't make me sell.
Right.
She wanted nothing to do with the sales pressure.
Even
She
though
just
she's
wanted to
good
love
at
on
sales.
people.
She's so good at it. She doesn't give herself enough credit, but you're
Agreed.
totally right. And
Agreed.
it's just, okay, we can give you that. And in return, we have that. This is a beautiful relationship. So it works really well with her too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, we are in Atlanta. There is fun to be had outside of this room. We're going to the college football experience.
Can't wait.
So, any parting thoughts before we go do some life?
We're ready to do some
I'm
live.
ready to do life.
I'll tell you, thank
That's
you for
my
having our
parting
team
thought.
here too. I was going to say,
That's all I'm thinking about is doing life.
doing live today.
That's all you're always thinking about, Keith. Now that you have 12 times more time.
Yeah, he's
Touche.
gonna love it. No, but our team, thank you for our team's been super helpful. I think having them here to be with us
Yeah.
in these sessions over the last couple of days, they're
Helps
just
them
like,
level up.
wow, I know why we do that now. And we're not the only ones. That firm's doing this in this country, state, whatever, it's like, it's really cool to
Helps
share
them
that with
level
them. And they're excited about it. So thank
Well,
you
you
for
just
having
told
them.
me your next hire, courtesy of Will Gadara and his team, is a Dreamweaver.
Yes, I just heard that.
Yeah,
That's great. I
I
can't
think
wait
it's a
Well,
to.
great
Keith,
idea.
I
actually,
can't wait to
did Keith
brainstorm
decide
that.
that?
I think he made a
that was a
decision
good
as an
Monday
Enneagram
conversation.
9. That's very difficult for you to make.
that is impressive.
I'm pretty impressed.
I'm a 9. And I
just
made
said
that
that.
decision. I know.
Yeah,
And
so
I'm
proud of
realizing
you.
you just said that.
And Keith, the rumor has it there's a sports card shop that's
Okay.
very large in Atlanta that we may
It
have
looks
already
kind of empty
visited.
without us doing it.
Yeah, so we might have to go visit that again too.
So, yeah, probably.
When's that funny, Michelle?
Carve out some
It's
time.
crazy. You guys are funny. That's good. That's good. Let's do
Hey,
it.
Greg's next. Your
There he
husband's
is.
next. Watch out.
He is something.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for the time.
Thanks for
Thanks for
having
sharing the
us.
wisdom. I
Yeah.
just love doing life with you guys.
Yeah, same. Thank you.
All right.